is estimated that there are as many as 1,000 slave wrecks on the ocean floor, and only 18 have been found and properly documented. But one woman, along with a group of black divers, is on a mission to change that after seeing a picture at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And she's written all about her journey in a new memoir, Written in the Waters, a memoir of history, home, and belonging. And joining me now for more on this is the author and National Geographic explorer, Tara Roberts. Tara, thank you so much for being here to talk about the incredible underwater archaeology dives that you've done. We've talked about how you say you felt powerful and agency in the water and being able to tell so many of these stories that would have otherwise been lost on the ocean floor. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, I think many of the stories that we tell about Black history tend to center inside of our trauma and inside of our pain. One of the amazing things about telling these stories has been that it's telling stories that are coming from this group of adventurers. It's people who have volunteered their time to learn how to scuba dive and to go to the bottom of the ocean to tell these stories. And the stories are also stories not just of death, because not all the people die on the wrecks, but they're also stories of resilience, of resistance, of survival. And those are really powerful stories to also add to the canon around Black history. So it's just been amazing to tell a more full history.
And how does that feel to be a part, to have a hand in the storytelling, to get to do that? Because for so long, the historians, the storytellers were and have been largely white, people who just don't have the same connection to these stories that folks who look like you and I do. What is it like to now get to have a hand in telling those stories yourself?
It's a childhood dream. When I was young, I used to read a whole bunch of sci-fi and fantasy books. I love stories that had adventurers that would go off and do these quests and help change the world. But when I was growing up, I didn't know if I could actually do that because I didn't see characters that looked like me. So it was really powerful when I went to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, and I saw this photograph of a group of primarily Black women on a boat in wetsuits. I'd never seen Black women on a boat in wetsuits before. So they gave me a sense of that adventure that I dreamed of as a kid and helped me see that this was also something that I could do. So again, I was not a scuba diver before I started this journey. But when I saw those divers, it made me feel like I could do it too. So it's been absolutely incredible to be under the water helping to tell these stories.
And as you're doing that and helping tell these stories, you also were telling your own story and writing your memoir. And I am in the process of doing that right now, actually. So I know what a process that is and how therapeutic it can be. And so I'm curious whether it was for you and what kind of really tough feelings you had to sit with and sit through as you were doing these dives.
Yeah, I'm glad to know that you're writing your own story. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. I would say that I was one of those persons who was a bit afraid of this history before I started this journey. It felt just too painful and too traumatic to me. So there was a part of me that was really afraid to face it, even though I did volunteer to tell this story. There was still a part of me that was thinking about it more generally and more collectively, like this history needs to exist in the world. But I wasn't thinking about it so much. I was thinking about it personally. But as I embarked on this journey, and it's been 6 years of me hanging out with these divers, traveling to places in Africa, in Latin America, in the Caribbean, around the US. And I have really changed in the way that I understand and embrace this history. I'm not afraid of it anymore because, again, I've seen that this isn't just the history of pain and death. It's the history of people who are full of life and laughter and joy and who have made it through a really hard period. So I feel so much pride now. And I see so much beauty in this history. And that transformed because of me writing the book and being able to process all of this.
What made you sign up to start working with this underwater archaeology group, Diving with a Purpose? Like, what, when you, even after seeing the picture of the women in wetsuits, what, even before, as you thought, like, you could never see yourself in it, what made you think, not only can I see myself in it, but I'm going to do it and I'm going to go 100%?
It really was that picture. I think representation is really important. And I hadn't seen Black women divers before. So seeing them sparked something. And then when I read about what they did, this group, Diving with a Purpose, and it's not just full of women, it's full of men, it's full of women, it's full of young people, it's full of old people. It's all of these people who had volunteered their time to help search for and document these slave shipwrecks on the bottom of the ocean floor. I was floored when I found out about that. Like, who even would think that there would be a group of Black scuba divers and then that they would take on finding this history on the ocean floor? So it sparked something in me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something that really made a difference around race. Race had become bigger and bigger in the national conversation, and there were all these fractures in it. And so I wanted to help make a difference around that. And this seemed like a really great way. And initially, I just got involved thinking that I would just become a diver and help with this history. I wasn't thinking that I would tell stories about it.
Yeah.
But the more I met the people, I realized, oh my God, people should know about this work that they're doing, and they should know about this history.
Yeah, there's so much. What have you learned from your exploration of the past that you feel can be applied to what's going on today and that you'll carry with you into the future?
Well, I think this is one thing that Lonnie Bunch, who is he's the founding director of the National Museum of African American History and Culture in DC, and he's now the head of the Smithsonian Magazines. But he said this to me in one of our interviews. He said that, good history is complex, it's ambiguous, it's nuanced. There isn't just one way to look at it. And that really resonated with me on a very deep level. There's such a way that I don't know that we tell the fullness of the transatlantic slave trade, which is huge history. It's 400 years. One of the most monumental events that happened in world history. It's not Black history. It's not American history. It's global history. I don't know if you knew this, but there were over 70 nations that were involved in the transatlantic slave trade, but we don't really teach it. We don't learn much about it.
Yeah.
It's huge history. So yeah, helping to bring this history again back into memory just feels so important to me, because this really shaped the foundation of the modern world that we have today, but we don't study it. So it deserves to be examined more.
And you are one of those people who has decided to prioritize this work and to do the work yourself and to write about it and share it and be one of the storytellers. I am so just blown away by you, Tara. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. Written in the Waters, author and National Geographic explorer Tara Roberts, we thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.